Hello, I am Joshua P. Warren, and this is Joshua P. Warren Daily. You know, the Halloween season is almost upon us, and so in this edition of the podcast, I'm going to talk about the 3 ingredients for a haunting. How does that sound? And of course, this is, in my opinion, based upon the many years of work I have done investigating haunts all over the world, plus something I don't talk about very much. You know, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice, so I steer clear of that sort of thing. But I have something interesting I'm going to tell you about. Call it a rare tip regarding magic and medicine. I think you'll want to hear this. It's something positive for everybody to keep in mind, to strive for the ultimate wellness. But listen, before we get into that, this is an important programming note. As you may or may not know, this is one of my last Joshua P. Warren Daily podcasts. I'm only going to do a few more of these, and then I am switching things around and upgrading the show to, well, we'll call it 2.0, because, you know, here's the fact of the matter. When I started doing this podcast 3 years ago, I did it on my cell phone. You know, I was just calling in from wherever I was out in the field in the middle of nowhere. And if I could catch a signal, I'd leave an update. And that was a cool way of doing a podcast. But the audience just grew and grew and grew. And people wanted longer podcasts and they wanted better quality. And so I finally started just saying, okay, well, I'm going to, instead of doing them in the field, try to do more of them in my studio. And so I've been doing it that way for a while, and the worldwide audience has just grown so tremendously that now I am taking it to the next level. And what that means is that it'll still just be me in front of a microphone, okay? So it's not going to change that much. But some of the things that will change will be, well, the consistency of the show. I will have a schedule set in stone. I'll know every week, okay, this is when I record it, and you will know this is when a new one is going to come out. So you can set your watch by the new podcast coming out. So that's great, instead of this sort of inconsistent thing I've been doing. Secondly, the quality is going to improve dramatically. You will be amazed at how much better everything sounds. I'm going to have the ability to put some music in there and do some stuff that I haven't done with this podcast. And it's really going to be, it's just going to be sort of it'll be a little different than this, a little different format, but it's going to be, let's say, a lot more polished and a lot more palatable given the size of the audience that I have built up all around the world. Now, that does not mean that you should unsubscribe from Joshua P. Warren Daily. To listen to my new podcast, you're going to have to go to a different place. Okay, I'll be telling you about that. But you should still keep your subscription to Joshua P. Warren Daily, because I may still be posting like some bonus content and some additional stuff that doesn't fit into the normal podcast on this podcast. So you want to keep those subscriptions, whether you're subscribing through iTunes or Stitcher or whatever it is. Keep those subscriptions, but I will be telling you in the very near future the whole story behind what is going on, how this huge opportunity fell in my lap, and how you can listen to the new version of the show with the new name. But again, it's just me in front of a microphone, so it's not really all that different. Some of the things I'll be able to get away with, though, are going to be pretty wild. I will explain. But that means it's more important than ever, if you want to keep up with this podcast, if you've not done this, please do it now. Go to joshuapwarren.com. Sign up on the homepage there for my free e-newsletter. It takes you 2 seconds. You put in your email address, you hit the button, and after that, you'll actually get an instant digital good luck charm emailed to you. And once you get that good luck charm, you'll be in the system. And also add my email address to your contacts. So if I send out an e-newsletter, it doesn't end up in your spam or your junk mail. And that way I can keep you informed directly regarding what's happening, and here's the new link to get to the new version of the show, etc. And also be sure to follow me on Twitter at Joshua P. Warren, at Joshua P. Warren. So because there are only a few more of these left, if you want to keep up with the stuff I'm doing, you've got to do that to figure out where to go next. Okay? So that said, let's get on to the main topic here. Let's talk about the 3 ingredients for a haunting. So I am going to be talking a lot more about ghostly stuff between now and Halloween for obvious reasons. And of course, as you probably know, this Halloween's going to be a special one. It is on a Saturday. It's not only a full moon, but a blue moon, which means that it is the second full moon of the month, and that happens very rarely. So I think we're in for a pretty special Halloween night. And so again, as we get closer, I'll give you more information on what I think that means. But I expect this to be an incredibly paranormal Halloween season. So if you have a haunted house, it's probably going to be really hopping this October. If you see UFOs sometimes in your backyard, you're probably going to see 5 or 10 times the amount. If you think you have Bigfoot milling around in your trash can, I'm sure he's going to be there every other night. I mean, we are going through such a bizarre year. This should not even be surprising to you. You're probably going to have premonitions. You're going to have bizarre synchronicities that appear in your life. And so let's, however, stick with just ghosts for right now. Ghosts and hauntings. And I'm not even going to get all technical on you and try to break down what I've talked about before. Well, this is an entity and this is an imprint. I may do that closer to Halloween on the new version of my podcast. But for now, I'm going to take for granted that you kind of know that stuff. And so here are the 3 big ingredients I found that add up to a superpowered haunting. Number 1 should not be a big shock to any of you if you follow this stuff at all. Number 1 is to be at a location that tends to have electromagnetic anomalies. That is to say, these erratic, often unpredictable, inconsistent fields that just sort of pop up, and sometimes they roam around, they disappear, we don't know where they come from. And by the way, there are a lot of so-called ghost hunters and paranormal investigators out there who run around with meters in their hand, and it's blinking and it's beeping, and they say, "Oh, I'm getting something over here. What is it? Oh, I don't know. There's an EMF over here." And they don't actually really know what they're talking about. And I'm not trying to criticize enthusiasts out there, but what I am saying is that there's a big difference between simply studying the paranormal as a thrill seeker and trying to understand the technology that you're using. And so let me give you a little more specific context. I have an online course that you can access if you go to joshuapwarren.com and you click the link to my Curiosity Shop. It's an online paranormal investigator certification course. And in lesson number 1, class number 1, we get into the fact that an electromagnetic field is not that difficult to understand if it's presented properly. So let me just give you this, all right? Let's say you take a comb, a plastic comb, and you rub it through your hair. Now, when you do that, it builds up an electrostatic charge. Now, I'm not going to get into exactly what that means, but ultimately, when you take that charged comb and you hold it near a little piece of paper or a little piece of Kleenex or something like that, it will magically, the Kleenex or the tissue or whatever, will magically jump up and stick to it. We've all done this. You can take a little thread and you can hold it over the thread, and the thread will stand up like the snake with the snake charmer waving the flute around. You can take that charged comb you've just rubbed through your hair, and you can hold it up to a tiny stream of water coming from the faucet in your bathroom or your kitchen, and it will bend. That stream of water will bend dramatically toward that comb. That comb has an electrostatic charge. It's called electrostatic because it's standing still. When you hold that comb there, it's just standing around it almost the way a magnetic field stands around a magnet. And if you have an oscilloscope, which is one of those things that has a screen that has a squiggly line on it, and if you hold that comb up to an oscilloscope, the line going across it, if it's measuring electrical fields, is just flat. Just flat. It looks like, getting the EKG from a dead person. Flatliners. Because it's not moving. But if you start flicking that comb back and forth, every time you flick it, you will see a bump, a squiggle on that oscilloscope. And what it's doing at that point is measuring the electromagnetic field that's created every time you pulse that comb. Because when you pulse that comb, now you're creating an electromagnetic field or an electromagnetic frequency. And if you do it 5 times in a second, that's 5 hertz. Or if you do it 1 time in a second, that's 1 hertz. So again, don't want to get too technical here. But basically, an electromagnetic field or an electromagnetic charge, or let me put it this way, an electromagnetic field is an electrostatic charge that is moving through space. So that's what I'm talking about for those of you who look at things more scientifically. And yes, I could use more precise terminology than that, but I think that's a pretty good description. So there are certain places on this earth which naturally seem to have an excessive amount of electromagnetic anomalies. And one of those is places that happen to be near the ocean, for one thing. The ocean is a huge dynamic electrolyte. It's a conductor of electricity. And it's tumultuous. It's shifting and shaping the Earth's gravitational field. I mean, anytime you're near the ocean, you are going to experience a variety of electromagnetic anomalies. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. On the other hand, you have some places that aren't near the ocean that are prone to create electromagnetic anomalies. Like right here, I'm in the state of Nevada. I'm in Las Vegas. And, this state is chock full of silver and gold, which are both excellent conductors. As a matter of fact, the state of Nevada produces the vast majority of gold in the entire country. I can't remember the percentage, but I think it's damn near 90% of the gold from the U.S. comes from the state of Nevada. It's because of that the U.S. is the number 4 gold producer in the world. I think the number 1 is like China, and then 2 and 3 are like Russia, and I think Australia is in there. And we're number 4 just because of Nevada. So there are these gigantic veins of conductors running underneath the terrain here in the state of Nevada in the desert. And they called this the Silver State because there was a giant lode of silver found in the 1800s called the Comstock lode. But now they mainly just find silver when they're digging for gold because there's so much more gold here. I think there may be only one full-time active silver mine here. And all these gold mines, if they find silver, that's just a bonus for them. They're primarily gold mines. And there are plenty of them that are still in business here, dozens of them. So that's an example. Like, we're not near the ocean here. We're 4 hours drive away from the Pacific coast, but you have electromagnetic anomalies here because of the geologic formations. And of course, anytime you have vast expanses of electrically conductive metals like that, then in that case, it's reacting to everything from cosmic rays, the way the Earth's magnetosphere is fluctuating, all that stuff, weather patterns. So anyway, a place that's got tumultuous electromagnetic fields is going to be likely more haunted. That's ingredient number 1. And I'm not just talking about generally. It could just be that your property happens to have a little bit more of something happening there. You might have a stream that's running nearby that's making an electromagnetic anomaly or creating some inconsistency, or you might have some kind of weird mineral. Ingredient number two is, not surprisingly, the ability for an electrical charge to build. So it's almost like that having the electromagnetic field sort of opens the door to these ghostly phenomena. But in order for the ghost to actually manifest in the physical world, there needs to be a buildup of that electrostatic charge, just like rubbing that comb on the hair. Because when you get enough of an electrostatic charge, you can create three-dimensional glowing light forms, like St. Elmo's fire, they used to call it, when the old sailors were going out across the ocean and they'd look up at the top masts, they'd see this blue glow around the top because it was getting a charge as they were passing through different weather systems. And so you have this three-dimensional light form. You can make objects move without touching them. You can make people's hair stand on end. You can give people cold chills. You can do so many things we describe when we encounter ghosts by creating artificial electrostatic fields. And so you need a buildup of electrostatic charge. Now, here in Nevada, it's very, very dry. There's not much moisture in the air. It's, maybe 10% or something like that. And so, therefore, the drier the air, the easier it is for an electrostatic charge to materialize. That's why I tell people sometimes, if you don't want a ghost to appear, try running a humidifier, and sometimes that'll knock it right out. Because in a very humid place, like that's haunted, for a ghost to appear, say like New Orleans or Charleston, South Carolina, or parts of Texas or parts of Puerto Rico, for those ghosts to appear, they have to be much, much stronger manifestations to appear. So I'm not saying that if you have humidity, you don't have any ghosts. I'm saying that if your humidity is low, you're going to have a higher chance of seeing weaker ghosts. But if your humidity is high and you see a ghost, that's a hell of a powerful ghost and a very frightening, tangible haunting. Look at a lightning bolt. A lightning bolt is nothing but a big electrostatic discharge, and it's happening in the middle of a downpour where, you have rain falling all around it. So it's not a matter of saying, it's the moisture alone. It's the relative humidity, right? So anyway, that's why if you go into a place and the humidity is low, that increases your chances of seeing something ghostly. On the other hand, if you go to a place and the humidity is high, if you see something, it's going to be pretty damn powerful. So those are the first two ingredients. Electromagnetic anomalies is number one. Number two is electrostatic charge. And then number three, dramatic events. Okay, dramatic events. Because this is what introduces the consciousness to the whole picture. And I'm not saying that all ghosts are conscious, interactive, aware, disembodied entities. Some of them clearly are not. Some of them are obviously imprints that have been put into the environment, and yet still, it seems that more often than not, there was some burst of emotion that made that imprint. And that imprint can shine a light on the buildings and the trees and bring a whole scenario, a whole landscape, a whole setting back as a ghost. And so when it comes to dramatic events, well, let me just stick with the fact, okay, here I am in Nevada. Well, for one thing, of course, who knows what was going on when all the Native Americans were living here before the European settlers came in and the people from the East Coast came in. I mean, they were carving all kinds of bizarre petroglyphs and talked about man-eating giants, and there's no telling what they were dealing with out here. But when you get into, the more sort of quote-unquote modern era, I mean, Nevada was founded on October 31st. It was founded in the middle, which of course is Halloween. It was founded in the middle of the Civil War. So the state motto is the battle-born state. And So there wasn't like a big battle was fought out here, but there was a lot of disagreement out here about, who to side with, the North or the South. And then you had all the rough and tumble cowboys coming through here and all the lawlessness as the West was being settled in the 1870s, 80s, 90s. And then, of course, most famously, you fast forward up to the 1940s when the gangsters came here and, starting with primarily Bugsy Siegel and created what we now know as the modern day Las Vegas, the Vegas Strip. Everything was run by mobsters. People could get killed, just because they looked at you the wrong way. I mean, they talk about what they call holes on the strip, which are things, oh, he fell in a hole on the strip, meaning some guy did something and got taken out back and, shot and disappeared in the desert, right? These three things combine to give you the ultimate ingredients for a good dramatic haunting. Okay, we're talking about, again, electromagnetic anomalies, electrostatic charge, and dramatic events. So if you are going out to investigate a place, I want you to think about those three elements and how they might apply, especially if you're trying to see something paranormal. Or it might give you some insight on places to avoid if you're trying not to see something paranormal. Of course, you could say there is always a fourth element here as well, and that would be, well, the observer. Yes, the observer. I'm talking, of course, about the fact that, well, we don't know that something paranormal is happening unless somebody reports it, right? I mean, how do you know that something paranormal is occurring if somebody doesn't see it? It's kind of like, if a tree falls in the woods, right? Somebody's got to see it. And so that's why if you want to find a haunted place, I mean, if you're doing this legitimately, unless you want to go out there and see if you get lucky yourself, you really have to rely on credible reports from people. And I am surprised how often I get emails from people asking me how to prevent ghostly activity. And it's been happening more and more. I guess, again, this is a dramatic year. It shouldn't be that shocking that I'm getting so many messages like this. But people are contacting me and they're saying, how do we avoid being subject to all of these things that are scaring the shit out of us at our house every night? And I have a little routine down pat where I say, go listen to this podcast that I did years ago. And I give them a link to a podcast I did that I talk about that in. And then I send them a link or two to some people that sort of specialize in clearing spirits and even exorcisms. I mean, as a matter of fact, I have right here in front of me a business card from one of my buddies who is an exorcist. His name is Bishop Brian D. Willett. And, well, he is the presiding bishop of the Holy Nicolaitan Catholic Church in, I think they're in Atlanta, Georgia. If you've never been to their website, it's nicolaitan.org, and he has no idea I'm promoting this, but I figure, what the hell? That's NICHOLEAN, NICHOLEAN.org. And it says services: pastoral counseling, spiritual problem resolution, paranormal and demonic investigation, personal sacramental support, mystical training and education. He's a good guy. And he and the people he works with are really fine people. And I have no problem referring anybody who has a need for a clearing or an exorcism or anything like that to Bishop Brian Willett. Anyway, however, I have a whole long list of ideas about how you might be able to prevent paranormal phenomena from manifesting, because if we know we can make it manifest. So, I mean, I've made ghosts manifest. I have made UFOs manifest. I've manifested all kinds of things, some creepy, some not. So I know it can be done because if you can manifest something, well, then you should be able to unmanifest it as well, right? And on my new podcast coming up soon, it's good timing right here close to Halloween. I'm going to sit down and once again go over all of these different methods and techniques that you can use in order to prevent paranormal activity. A lot of people are asking for this, so I'm going to do a new and improved version of that. But you'd be amazed how much you can do just using your mind and being connected to that mind-body environment relationship. So that's why, I'm always just fascinated. Every day I get these amazing emails from people all over the world who are telling me about these incredible successes they've had using manifestation tools. And sometimes it has to do with the paranormal. Sometimes it's more mundane. Here, let me read a couple of emails for you. It's always fun to get some direct listener feedback, isn't it? This came in from a woman. And actually, you know what? I'm going to keep her name anonymous. She has a very memorable kind of special name. So I don't want to say it because I don't want her to lose her anonymity. But she lives here in the U.S. and she says, "Hi, Joshua. Thank you so much for the wishing machine. After my purchase, Dr. Mulder reached out to ask me a few questions about my request for the wishing machine. I received that email on 8/21 of 2020. I responded and had my intentions set and was ready to receive the wishing machine to aid with manifesting. On August the 25th, the first intention manifest after a 9-year legal obstacle." Okay, so she said she put that, she received that email and responded on the 21st, and 4 days later, she overcame a 9-year legal obstacle. She says, "I was approved and driving the Volvo I saved a picture of." Says, "Please note that 1 week prior, I was denied financing. I received inspiration to reapply, although I could not see any changes in my situation. And voila, I am now in the driver's seat." She says, "I've only shared my goals with Dr. Mulder. Today is September 8th, and I set my wishing machine and I set my next intention. I look forward to sharing more successful manifestations, always smiling." And then she gave her name and phone number. And now, you see, here's something that you should keep in mind about that email. She wanted to get this Volvo, apparently. And she could have set the intention to get the Volvo and then walked outside and looked in her driveway and said, "Where the hell's my Volvo? This is a bunch of fucking bullshit. Where's my Volvo?" Right? But she didn't. Instead, she said, "Okay, now I've set this intention. I just applied and it didn't work. Why am I going to reapply?" But she put the work in and she took the step to get it, and it worked out for her. See, she didn't break any of the natural laws. A Volvo didn't fall out of the sky. A leprechaun didn't pop up and go poof and make it materialize there in her garage. She took the intention and then she let it work through the natural laws, the natural systems, and then it happened for her. Now, be mindful of that, because here's an email I got from a man in North Carolina. His name is David, and instead of using a wishing machine for his manifestation, and of course you can learn about all this stuff at joshuapwarren.com. Just click the link to the Curiosity Shop. He has a miraculous prayer board. He wrote me this very excited message. His name is David. He's in North Carolina. And his subject line was Miraculous Prayer Board Finds Lost Keys. And of course, the thing about the prayer board is it's a manifestation device that is used for more immediate day-to-day things. Like usually you set a wishing machine for a more long-term goal. And a prayer board is something that you use every single day for sort of maintenance or if something pops up that you need to deal with on the spot. So he says, I've had the miraculous prayer board, and today I was getting ready to go to the store and I couldn't find my keys anywhere. And I spent about 3 hours searching the car, the yard, and the house, retracing steps. I tried a pendulum to locate it, and it was correct, and that they were in the house, but incorrect as to the room. Finally, I picked up the prayer board and said, I would like to find my keys. That's my prayer. Amen. I was inspired to sit down in the chair nearby and again retrace my steps in that chair from yesterday, and it dawned on me that my keys were in the back of the computer right there. Flash drive on the key ring plugged into a rear USB port. After letting out a cheer, it dawned on me that the miraculous prayer board had done its work, helping me in under 1 minute. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Little thumbs up icon there. That's from David in North Carolina. Well, thank you, David. And thank you to the lady who sent me the Volvo story. You know what? I could keep reading these. If you have one of these manifestation devices and it's not doing something amazing for you, then you need to go back and learn how to use it properly, okay? And again, you have to understand that these things don't make something unnatural just like poof materialize. They work through the natural laws. And that's why you open your mind and you let the information come to you. You look at the synchronicities that occur, and it will guide you and lead you to these things that you want to have, that you want to achieve. And yes, you can use it for all kinds of stuff, whether it's paranormal, mystical, whether it's something along these lines with finding your keys, getting a car. But I don't talk a lot about medical stuff. And that's again because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, and frankly, it's illegal for me to even give you any kind of medical advice, so I'm not going to do it. But here's what I will tell you. All throughout history, whenever people have tried to use manifestation devices for wellness purposes, and again, it doesn't matter what kind of tool or device you're using. There are many different options. But whenever people have tried to do that, their situation is not like instantly cured. And for one thing, unfortunately, we all have to break down and die. That's just a fact of life. There's nothing you can do to prevent that. It's a sad thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's a necessary thing. That's the only way the world, grows and new people get to come and experience new things. That's the way it was designed by Mother Nature. Everybody can have an opinion. Doesn't matter who you're voting for. That's the way it goes, though, my friends. That's what Mother Nature says right now. You get, 80, 100 years, and then you're out of here. So there's nothing you can do about that. But on the other hand, you can do things to help yourself along the journey feel as good as possible. And, that includes all the stuff you usually hear about, diet and exercise and, nutrition and taking proper medication if you need it. I mean, like it's all the typical stuff. I mean, I bought a book the other day, and maybe you're familiar with this. There are scientists out there who say that every problem that you have is because that there is an imbalance between the amount of acidic stuff in your system and alkaline stuff in your system. And this one guy who was writing this book said, like 80% of your diet should be alkaline stuff, and then 20% should be acidic stuff. So 80%, like most of the stuff you put in your body, should be alkaline. So I was like, okay, fine. So I go looking through it, and he's listing all of these different examples of foods. You know, this is alkaline food, this is acid food, and basically all the alkaline food, like all the good stuff, was vegetables and fish and almonds. I mean, you know, that's kind of about it, really. And then, you know, what's bad for you is having, you know, meat, too much meat, especially red meat, soft drinks, fried stuff, alcohol, all the good stuff, right? You know, so, I mean, and it's a well-written book, and it's got all kinds of diets, but I think I kind of summed it up for you right there. Just, you know, if you want to live a nice, healthy, comfortable life, and, you know, you just, you eat veggies and fish, and I guess you drink water, maybe a little green tea. Now, look, I don't do that. I'm not you know me, I'm not some type of a, what is it they call it, a paragon or whatever of health. No, that's not me. But I mean, I am not getting any younger, so I do realize you do feel better if you pull off a healthier diet. But anyway, look, let's get back to my point. My point is, if you're going to use a manifestation technique in order to help yourself feel better, when you do your manifestation technique, don't do it thinking that because I have done this, some type of magical fairy or angel is going to appear and zap my problem and it's going to go away. That is not how you should think about that. Here's how I advise you to think about it, and this is your rare tip. If you try to manifest a solution to your problem, then the most valuable thing you can have is for that root of your problem to be revealed to you. And I say that because that's the hardest part in the medical field, in my opinion, is figuring out the cause and effect. What is causing the problem here? Because people go about their day in a hurry, and they're distracted. Not everybody can keep a little food diary and a little drink diary and a little diary of how much, you know, they slept and how much they exercise. Like, you know, you just, it's not practical to do that. And, you know, so you eat all kinds of different things, you drink all kinds of different things, you do all kinds of different things, and maybe you have habits that you're not even aware are habits. Maybe you think you're doing something right and you're doing it wrong. It's just a big confusing mess trying to pinpoint what the root of the problem is. And so the first thing that is the most valuable thing is for somehow the actual cause of the problem to be revealed to you. So it's not about this thing suddenly miraculously healing as though, oh, Christ himself has laid his hands upon you and now you are magically, miraculously healed. No, it's more about giving you an understanding of like, okay, here is the situation. From there, it helps to bring you the right therapy, okay? That's what you need to think of. Think of, well, now how do I find the right therapy, the right treatment, the right medication? How do I change something in my diet or my routine that is causing the problem? And if you have a problem that requires surgery, well then, fine. You at least, when you figure that out, you can start working on the specific or the more specific plan of how you're going to have that surgery done. So when you're using, and of course right now everybody's talking about health because that's been on everybody's mind this year with the whole, you know, COVID situation and whatnot. So I just want to express to you that if you ever use manifestation techniques to help yourself or someone that you love, then I want you to have a realistic understanding of what you should be asking for. And I hope that helps you. And also, you know that I have created a brand new product, and it has nothing to do with medical stuff, but it is a manifestation tool that I believe helps put your mind in the right place. And as I've said before, this is a magical tool for people who don't like magic. People who say, this seems to work for other people, but doesn't work for me. Well, I had a light bulb go off, and I came up with this invention that I've been playing with for a while, and I've been so impressed with it that I figure, well, I've been using this for myself and my own life for a while. I'll make one batch, and make it available to my audience. That's something that I enjoy doing, and I feel it's helping me to contribute to the world. It's being manufactured as I speak. So we're talking about, a very small batch of these things. I should have that batch done, I'm hoping, by early October, and I'll tell you more about that. But it also is one of those things that helps you put your mind in the right place. So if you want to know when that's available, I guarantee you it's going to sell out. If you want to know when that is available, then you should definitely, again, do what I said. Please go to joshuapwarren.com, sign up for my free e-newsletter so I can let you know when it's ready. Also, I'll remind you that if you watch Gaia TV, streaming network there, I am, as far as I know, scheduled to be on the new episode of Beyond Belief with George Norrie that is going to air on, or at least be released on September the 16th. And so, I'll watch Gaia TV on my Roku, and you can watch it online, but I've got some pretty cool stuff that that we'll be digging into on that show. So look, I have to run here. I have so many things happening. Soon I'll be telling you about my new book. And, let me also reiterate now, the new podcast is going to be, it's going to be appearing for you soon. So I might just do one or two more of this Joshua P. Warren Daily, maybe just over the next week. And then there may be a little period of quiet there. And then boom, the new creature will be born. The great and terrible new 2.0 podcast that, a new name, a slightly different format, a new place to find it. So you want to make sure that you know all about that. But again, keep your subscription to Joshua P. Warren Daily, because I may sometimes have some extra bonus content that I'll be posting for you here. So that said, oh boy, big things are happening, and who knows what we are in for over the next month and a half or so. It's going to be interesting. I promise you that. So let's take this ride together. Go to joshuapwarren.com and, tell everybody that you know. Go to joshuapwarren.com. Check out the content. Go to the Curiosity Shop. Look at the things that we have there you can't find anywhere else in the world. While you're there, click the link to this podcast. It's called Joshua P. Warren Daily. Always short, always free, commercial free, uncensored, independent. You can subscribe through various means, or just follow me on Twitter at Joshua P. Warren, and I will usually tweet when a new one is available. So that is it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your interest and support. Thank you for staying curious. And I will talk to you again soon.